You did great on that rehearsal.
All right, let's start again. I'm Sean. I run Cornerstone Services. I'm based in New Paltz. I am from the Hudson Valley. I got my start in direct mail many years ago after a misguided career in banking. I worked on a startup that was successful, one of the very few. If you ever pay a utility bill, you probably use the software that we developed once upon a time. And I thought it'd be lovely to go into business for myself about 20 years ago. Little did I know, but I can say that chamber memberships have been tremendously helpful, and you just learn stuff over time. So my skills in direct mail were very helpful and transferable into web-based things, because what I do is raise cash and awareness. Most of my work is for not-for-profits, but at the same time, the same things that help with fundraising also helped drive customers, get people to do things. My job at Cornerstone is to do things on time, under budget, and uneventfully. So I have to work with limited budgets and raise maximum awareness and maximum amount of cash for everything, 501c, everything, like I like to say, but also small businesses. I've worked with a lot of sole proprietors, but I've also worked for the Danish Consulate of Canada. God knows how they found me. I worked for the US Olympic Committee, and I've also done work for, I don't know, people working out of their spare bedroom. I work a lot with the Jewish community in Brooklyn. Again, I don't know how they find me. But, you know, you do something, you do one Episcopalian church, you end up doing more Episcopalian churches. So you fall into things. My talk today is actually one where I didn't go and look at what anyone else does. And in some ways that's helpful. In other ways, I'm not sure it's so helpful. So I'm outing myself in the beginning. I'm showing you what I learned. So I feel that what I came up with is really organically tested. And so I didn't read a book. I didn't do how to do web presence for dummies or anything like that. But a lot of things I've learned in direct mail also really helped out with the web. So what I want to start with is really an organic approach, rather than say, oh, you got to do this when you're on Yelp and you got to do this when you're on Pinterest, because we could get into the weeds or rabbit holes very quickly with all these little things that we could do. And for most people, I don't think it's that helpful. Sure, there's a lot of tricks and things, but there's thousands of them. So what I'm going to invite you to do is walk backwards into where do we start with you, and then what that organic position is will really drive, if we reverse engineer it, it'll really drive whether you should do anything at all. And for some people, they're doing really well. So I want to start with the organic stuff, talk about some macro principles. I'm going to have a little fun. There's only 10 slides and I got to hustle through them. But then I really want to talk about what you guys want to do. And I have some web assessment tools so we can check out either existing chamber members and you can ask me questions. Because I get to talk all the time. I teach once a week, so it's boring to listen to me. I'd rather listen to other people. But it's also for your value. You know, it is here as a service of the chamber, and being a chamber member, it's great that Ray would allow such things to take place, because there ought to be, things change all the time. There needs to be ongoing understanding. So your job is to interrupt me, all right, as much as possible. My job is to shut up, learn how to shut up. I'm not good at it, but we'll just walk through some stuff that I think is foundational, and then we can start looking at things that are more relevant. But it is helpful to have some macro level principles, because I don't like working, I was telling Ray, I don't like working with the shoulds and oughts. There are a lot of coulds, but I'm not here to should all over you. I am here to sort of say, if you want to do this, here's the toolkit that might be helpful for that. It's not a pitch session, all right? So all good? All right, all good in TV land out there? Okay, great. Now, if people have questions, I'm gonna try and look on the Zoom, but.
I will.
All right, you know, you gotta yell if you wanna ask something, okay, so.
Yeah, you raise your hand, or like Sean said, just kind of shout it out, or
Flares. Shoot a flare.
we'll all be good.
All right. So, let's go to the first screen. Right, and there we go, okay. So this is just a fundamental starting point. And I don't wanna read, I always hate when people read off their PowerPoint slides, so. You're all sentient beings, you can actually read. What I wanna do is have you read what I have up here. And then consider for yourself, how we're gonna start. The one thing I am, of course, in thematic to what we're talking about is look at this from a standpoint of web presence. So, I'm not trying to be Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins and say, what colors your parachute and what's your bliss. But I do find it helpful, particularly because I do work with a lot of startup organizations. What is it that you want to do, or how do you want to be? And I wrote down some examples and why this may not be obvious for some, because on the surface, it's like, Sean, you already bored me with some of this. But I'll give you an example of what I mean. And because I work with so many 501c organizations, but let's start with a liquor store in Delhi. I'm sure there is one, but you could just have a retail liquor store and you could say, what is it that you do? Well, we sell booze. Okay, but I'm gonna give you another way of rephrasing that. And this is for you to consider for what you're doing. Even if you are a communications corporation, right, there are ways of looking at things. It's not just what you do, but how you do it, all right? So, our store, I'm not using the word liquor yet. Our store educates, enhances, and provides immaculate service to our adult beverage customers through professional recommendations, VIP events, and an international inventory with exciting and sometimes exclusive label varieties. Now, I say this because if you're just selling Manischewitz and Bully Hill, that's a different audience than if you have an audience that wants higher end French Bordeaux wines. It's not wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. But what you do for your web presence is going to be derived from how you want to show up. So if you walk into like a CVS and stuff is all over the place, or is it nicely faced, it's organized, you've got labels on here. In a way, that's very much web presence similar, because how you want to show is going to be what you want for yourself. If any of you have read Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek, ever heard of the book?
Yeah.
All right. So Tim would be online one part with this, because he would say, if you want a business where you're selling hats, do you want to import them from Greece, mark them up 3 times, have someone sell it for you on Amazon and you can go fishing? Or do you want to be hustling down the street with hats, come get your hats? So how you want your business to go is going to be kind of reflective of how. Now, there are limitations, of course. We're not just starting with tabula rasa, but this is the kind of thing that I would often encourage people to start with. And I'll just give another not-for-profit example. So if you were a golf club, our association's members experience ongoing personal satisfaction and professional fulfillment through participation in a creative environment that offers unique experiences to those who engage willingly and unconditionally. So if you have members, you want to delight them. And then you also might want to say there's certain people who shouldn't be here. And that's actually kind of important. Like, we fired a lot of clients during COVID, and it's an 80-20 rule. We don't have time for my Pareto principle lecture, but if there are people driving you crazy, set them free. Okay, because you need to know what your mission is and serve your audience. And the people on the periphery are going to drive you crazy as long as you let them. But if you have to deliver the core understanding, and the web presence can speak to that. See, what I mean by reverse engineer is that your website or web presence can actually do a lot of the work for you if you set it up right. And of course, places like Dell Computer and others know it because they're already using AI to try and answer your questions. They're already having robust FAQs. And if they're smart, they put search things on. But it's no different than you wanting to pick up the telephone and say, if you call Uline, they want to pick up the telephone because for them, their mission is, we want to talk to people. And I actually love that. I love Uline doesn't require, frankly, I've always paid their invoices. And if I need labels or shipping supplies, I just want to give them a hug. Over the phone all the time. That is how they show up, and that is what they want. Now, they're just selling office supplies, but I love the experience of calling Uline, and they know that. And it's no different than Stu Leonard's or Stu Leonard Once Upon a Time, Trader Joe's and some of the other. So it's not just a store, it's what kind of store. And I don't want to jump ahead too far, but the foundational questions I think are important because it's going to drive where you should be in other things. Does this make sense? Do you have any questions in TV land? Is that okay? All right, great. So we're gonna go to the next. Go. Okay, it's great to be Red Adair. Oh my God, I love Red Adair. Do you guys know Red Adair? Yeah, I know, we're getting old, man.
I know,
No, it's so hard. So Red Adair.
I'm already there, I'm not sure about you.
I'm catching up. I'll catch up with you real soon. So Red Adair he's this mythical legend. Red Adair has one job, and his job is to put out the worst fires on oil rigs anywhere in the world. Okay, imagine that is your one job. Is Red Adair a firefighter? No. Is he working fires in oil wells? Actually, no. Does he work on the worst fires on oil rigs? Yes. How many people in the world do you think do this?
Few and far between.
Few and far between. All right. Now you might say, oh, that's really nice, Sean. I'll just give you an example because he's, I don't want to I could go into all the examples, but there's one called a Devil's Cigarette Lighter in Algeria. It was on fire for 6 months from November to the end of April. I mean, nobody could put it out. Finally, the Algerians just gave up and they contact Red Adair and he puts it out. There is the worst offshore disaster in the North Sea. 177 oilmen died. Waves of 70 feet. 70-foot tall waves, and the winds are up to 80 miles an hour. They don't hesitate. They call Red Adair, and he puts it out. Okay. Now let me ask you this: why am I telling this? Do you think Red Adair, when he was alive, he's been dead 20 years? Do you think he needs a website? Do you think he needs a Pinterest account, an Instagram account? Does he need to tweet? Does he need the blog? Does he even need anything other than a phone and a PO box? Nothing. Okay. So Red Adair has one job, and there aren't a lot of people who do that. It's great to be Red Adair. Okay. If we could all just be that exclusive, that good. Now, do you think Red Adair negotiates on his invoices? Do you think he has to deal with the customer
No.
service department? Yeah, all right.
I don't know, but that's my question. So he's a safety trainer, obviously, is what it says, right? Safety training.
Well, they expanded.
So what did how did he put the fire out? I'm curious.
All right, so what he did is that he was a veteran for World War II,
Right.
and he worked with UXBs, unexploded devices.
Mm-hmm.
And he found out that, and this was already kind of known, but very few people would do this. And his name to fame, he made a name for himself internationally. Once he put out a fire, and it was in 1963, I don't know what one it was, but they made a John Wayne movie out of it just a few years later. It was called the Firefighters movie. It was Red Adair realized that you could blow oxygen out of the fire. So the fire needs fuel and it needs oxygen. Once you blow the oxygen out correctly, the fire can't
breathe.
Can't breathe. Yeah, the fire can't breathe. Now people know this, but how many people want to get next to a fire like that? How do you get explosives without exploding next to a fire like that? And that's where Red Adair comes in. So he essentially blows up fires. Yeah, and it's a very unique skill.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it's great to be Red. Can we all agree that it's great to be Red Adair? Now, once you make a name for yourself, people come to you. And yes, you can set up training and safety, and you can have swag and other things like that, but you don't need it. All right, because when you are on point, you are the master and commander of what you do. People have fewer qualms about your invoices. So your job in a way is to know who you are, what you do, and deliver it on point all the time, 24/7 without fail. So when I went to McDonald's this morning, I know that I could get the same, I don't eat meat, but I do like my egg sandwiches, and I would get the same egg sandwich here as I would in Thailand. All right, because they do the same thing every time. McDonald's knows who they are, what they do, how they do it, And there are service standards, technology standards, and that is how McDonald's delivers. You guys just need to know what you want to do. So if you're a sole proprietor or you have a 2,000 member utility or golf club, you just want to know what are my standards for which I do this, and that's going to drive what you do in web presence. Because there's going to be things you do and things that you don't do. Redditor needs nothing. He doesn't even need your love or support or anything. He's just kind of a lone ranger. He likes what he does. He would do it without the money even. He just likes it. It interests him. And of course, that's the sweet spot in anything. When you do something you love, you know. All right, so anyway, it's great to be a redditor. Okay. So this is some of the stuff I've talked about. And this is really gets into the white meat of the turkey now. If you want to be on the web, all right, so we're not Redditor. If you want to be on the web, what is it that you want your web presence to do? In the beginning, I asked you, let's just assume if you could just, I asked you one caveat. Play along with me that your website is going to be your anchor for your web presence, okay? Because, and a bit of a spoiler, I don't like Facebook. Okay? I'll get into that. I have to preserve the mystery, so you'll hang in. I don't like to read screens, but essentially, you have to decide what you want your web presence to do. So it's not just having web presence, because that's like, I could do a great website, but if it's not set up correctly, it's what we call a billboard in the woods. Right? I can do a great website, beautiful website, but if no one's going to see it, or your audience isn't going to see it, you don't know what you want to do with it. It's just a big billboard in the woods. So here, and we're going to save this, and I can send you a PDF afterwards. I'm asking you to ask yourself questions or ask me questions after you've read this, is what is it that you want to, and really at the bottom, how, where, when, and by whom do you want to be found? Because that's going to say where you should be. Now, if you're selling stuff, I do not like Facebook. All right, Facebook is for grandma and it's for your friends and your kids, but it's not for people are there who already like you. You don't need to make them like you more, but you got to show up now and then. Just say, hey to everyone, you know, they're hanging out your back porch. Hey, how's it going? You know, but if you want to sell stuff, do that from your website, not from. You do not, you know, and I look at it from a pure ROI standpoint. And if I can sidetrack for a second, we belong, my company Cornerstone belonged to, I think we're up to 25 or 26 chambers of commerce and business associations. And when I hired a business coach, we went through the ROI of each membership. On a county level, Delaware was the only one we kept. I got rid of Orange and Dutchess, and I'm not saying this to diss them, I'm saying for my business, was I getting ROI for my web presence in these chambers, from Orange County to Rockland Business Association to, there's no Putnam County Chamber, to Dutchess, to Columbia. Well, and Columbia's president was indicted for grand theft, so that was an easy go. My second chamber, Mahopac Carmel, that happened while I was there too. Ray, you be on your best behavior, because I don't need any Michigans from you. Right?
Not a word.
Good. But I went back and said, you know, I'm not getting anything from my web presence here, because I can't be in Rockland County all the time, especially about here in Delhi. You know, I can't be in these places. So what do you, so I said, well, you know, we developed kind of a golden ratio for what makes sense for me to pay for things. Yelp is over $1,000 if you want to pay Yelp. That's the entry. It's like 1,100, 1,200. Dude, is it worth it? It can be, but you really want to know who you are and who your audience is before you start investing in these things. And another spoiler, I don't believe in paying for Google ads, and I don't believe in paying for Facebook ads. I don't see the ROI for most people. All right, if you buy, like in my businesses, let's say direct mail web, if I buy a direct mail, if I want to buy the search result presence for direct mail, in quotes, it's something like $7.75 a click. That's no guarantee that they buy anything. That's just a click. So Google gave me $500 to use. I'm like, oh boy, let's have fun. $500. I used it in 12 hours. You know, I mean, you know, people searching for, because it's such a high-ranking keyword. You know, they search for it, and I got a lot of calls, but they're not the calls I wanted. And what told me is I need to filter better. Okay, I need to filter who I want to call me. People call me for things I could help them out with, but a lot of times what they really want me to know is, we're running this, run a small collection agency in Brooklyn here, and you work with this blah blah software. I said, well, I know it. What are you trying to do? I just need to know, I need to get something out tomorrow. All right. Look, it's all right. I just need to know if you could do it or not. There's other people do this, right? Like, yeah, well, I'm 100 miles from you. No, it's all right. Thanks a lot, Cliff. I'm not the New York City reference library desk, I don't want to be the info show. So I need to filter better, and your web presence can do some of that filtering for you. But before you start going out buying even billboards and radio, are you getting the ROI that you should get for the audience that you want? And that's where I want to get to fundamental questions before you do anything. Know who you really want to target. Otherwise, you're just throwing money at stuff and hoping that it sticks. All right, does this make sense to you all? All right. Yeah, we'll save this to PDF if you want when we're done. All right. So let's assume, okay, we do want some, we do want some web presence. Okay, we're gonna do something. I've already told you I like your website to be the mothership, and then we want to look at watering holes. Where are your customers going to be? Where do they show up? Now, if you come to your website, that's your biggest watering hole. But if we're on the African Serengeti, hey, water's pretty scarce, It might look like, the Mirage leads me over here, but they're not here. But we really want to know, where do my customers go? So, and the examples can't be too far off of this. If I'm going to use another example with the chamber member right after this, but where your customers are, all right? So you go to where they are. If they are on Facebook, well, then by all means, call me out, go on Facebook. If they are just on Google, make damn sure your Google recipe card on the right-hand side is set up correctly. You've indexed your site properly so that if your customers are Google's customers, and does anyone know who Google's customers are? Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody at Google's customers. So, that's great and it's bad because it also means it's like all over the place. All right. So you may want to, consider that. It just, that's all. If you are looking to put out a fire on an oil rig 200 miles offshore, you're not going to go to Google, You just type that in. No, you're going to call. By the way, you already know who to call, right? Because it should be one of your SOPs. If this ever happens, we don't even need to break the glass. We know, so. All right, does this make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to move ahead because now we're going to get to the fun. All right, I picked a chamber member, and I happened to see a billboard for these guys as we came in, and I love their website, and it's just because it's pretty. I love stuff that doesn't look like a template stuff. Websites can be templated, but they can't look templated. We don't build templated websites. Essentially, you want to reward customers for some, and this is sort of like, you need to find your altitude. Some websites intentionally dumb themselves down a little bit because they don't want to look too sexy, but others just want to get just the facts, man. So I try and just be very understanding of where we need to show up. I'm not picking on outsiders in any way. I think they're great. And by the way, I'm giving them free love here. So they should, they should. But if you're outside with home services, and you do home construction, home repair, that should be the very, very first thing you see when you land. We do this. We put out the worst oil rig fires imaginable. Whatever you do, you want people to land. There's no mystery as to why they're there. You slap them in the face. Because in my world, with direct mail and web, I have 1 to 2 seconds to grab someone by the throat and bring them in and get them curious. Now, as marketing rule, when we develop mail pieces, we have 3 rules that we develop all mail pieces by, and I also use them in web a little bit. All right. So again, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't read about it. I just started making notes and we saw what was working. So we would go back to people, hey, did that work? Like when I do political mail, did you get elected? Because I won 80% of my elections last year. So, but I've also lost 70% in the past too. But I had a great year last year. 80% of them won. So I have to do one of 3 things. I have to present a compelling opportunity. A compelling opportunity is if you switch from oil to natural gas, you're gonna save a boatload of money right now, and I lock that rate in. That's a compelling opportunity. We're having a liquidation sale. All carpets 80% off. That's a compelling opportunity. We have an exclusive vintage from a distributor who only distributes to us of a certain type of bourbon. You're in our VP club, we want you in here first. That's a compelling opportunity. Anything that would be exclusive, time sensitive, unique, it's not just price, it's just like if I do work for a deli and I do a crazy EDM card and I have a tear off business card at the end, I'd love doing crazy stuff. I like trying to push the limits of things, but I have to be conventional too. Banks hate me because they'll never do anything I tell them to do. But if I send an EDM card and it says 1 free cup of coffee, that's a compelling opportunity. All right, again, it's like, okay, and my job is to drive traffic. Once they're in the door or once they're on the site, hey man, you're on. All right, all my job was to get them to show up. So if you're Ace Hardware and you want to sell snow shovels in July, that ain't my problem. I'm gonna talk you out of it. But if you're really committed to it, I'm gonna tell you how to do, and then I'm gonna watch my hands. But here, this is helpful to do that, yeah. Here, let's look at outsiders. They do home services, which they really, I would have them they have design, build, maintain, but I would probably have them redo the artwork a little bit so you know exactly what they do. Outsiders could be a book, it could be a couple different things. It's not exactly clear, and it's a refinement.
Right, based on his
It
clothing,
looks-
I think lager, based on his
Yeah,
clothing.
More like.
I can
more-
see the wrench, but I think lager, the
Yeah.
woodsy
But
look.
this is it, and this is why it
Yeah.
helps to actually talk about
Yeah.
real stuff, because you see this, like, hey, what is it they do? But I need to connect visually before you cognize where you are. I should be able to show this to a 5-year-old and he should be able to get it. And right now it's cool, but it's a little too cool,
Yeah,
all right? It's nothing wrong, but I want, if they were my client, I want them to win. So I want them to say something like, we make beautiful homes. We take any project and make it beautiful, or something like that. Now, where they want to show up, we could go to Craigslist. You know, are these people likely to show up? And these are just social media web presencings, all right? Craigslist is a viable place. You can see, I took some screenshots last night of people who do home service kind of stuff on Craigslist. Is that where your peeps are? Is that where your customers are? If you're going to Craigslist, what is it that you want? Do you want to design a Swedish sauna outside your hardscape backyard? No, Craigslist is probably not the place. Do you want to go to, and I need to move this.
It's just clip.
All right, there we go. That's. There we go. We could be on Angie to the bottom left. Angie is a little bit more midstream. You know, if you're looking for a contractor to put on a deck, Angie's probably where you would go. You might not want to gamble on Craigslist, but Angie is where you would go. But if you really want high-end stuff, House is where I met a guy, well, all he does is renovate bathrooms, and he only calls people back who contact him in House. Why do you think he does that?
They contact him now.
On Buy a House,
About-
HOUSE.
some sort of customer in his.
Sure, what kind of customer though?
A serious one. One that can
And-
pay.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. Okay, good. You're getting the hang of this. If you're on House, you're not on Craigslist. If you're on House, you are looking for big boy stuff. You assume they have immaculate reviews. And House is pretty good about screening people too, because they don't want lightweights. And you gotta pay to be on House. You know, so it's like a golf club. Excuse me, do you want to play in the Muni course or do you want to be, the blah, blah, blah golf and yacht club? It's all golf, but it's also different. So where you want your web presence to be depends upon how you see yourself and where you want to be. Do you want to be, playing golf like Tim Ferriss? Or, I mean, it's all different. There's no right or wrong. But so someone like Outside Services has a good site. This is a good site, don't get me wrong. But where they want to be is really a matter of how they see themselves and what kind of customers they want to attract. Now, for them, they won't get to, we can come back to them in a minute, because they did something really, really smart that I like, but they defined in Google their service area, and that's so smart to do. If we go to Google, they said, we only work in this area, and God bless them, because if you could say, we can be anywhere, just remember, Google's customers are everywhere, it would drive you crazy. So if you don't have to be sending guys across bridges and water and things like that, you can probably be more effective, more efficient, but you gotta own your backyard. But if you're selling, Greek, like Tim Ferriss would use, like Greek sweaters, hey, you could ship internationally, it doesn't matter. So your backyard is everywhere. All right, any questions on this? This making sense? Okay. Okay, let's go back to Hereditary. And this is one quote you probably heard from me, didn't know it was attributed to him, but you may, you've probably heard this quote before, okay? So this is really where I'm going to encourage you, that if you're listening to this, you probably already have some prowess in what you're doing. So you just want to make sure that what is it that we do and we nail that 100%. It's harder if you say you can do everything. I'm not encouraging you to do everything. I'm encouraging you to stay very, very tight with what you're good at. And then maybe explore the possibility, but you do it on your terms for your interest. So if what you do is roofing, sure, I'll look at maybe a rubber roof, but that's only because I'm interested, and you just want to pick and choose, but you want to stay tight to your core. If you can be the professional at whatever you're doing, then your life will be a lot easier because it's actually okay to turn down stuff. All right? I just want to give you that kind of grace that you're not missing anything, and it's okay not to have web presence. But if you do want to have web presence, make sure you do it 100%. All right, and this is, I think this is really the wrap-up thing. You can take some notes if you want to here. I'm going to say that the more specific you can be, like Hereditary, the better it is going to be for you. And then if you have let's say you're selling a commodity, okay? Steak is good. Like I think Uline's a good example. So Uline's selling office products. They don't just do one thing. They're selling really commodities. So they have to have the experience of buying be wonderful. When you talk to the founder of Howard Schultz, I think, of Starbucks, he freely admits that his coffee is good, but it may not be the absolute best. So what's he selling? He's actually selling the experience of buying coffee. And he got that inspiration because he was in Italy and enjoyed talking to the barista and going out. It's an experience. McDonald's, you're paying for the efficiency. I don't even like their egg sandwiches all that much because they're made with factory farmed chickens. There's nothing, if you actually tasted what you ate at McDonald's, you wouldn't eat there. So because it is bereft of real taste. And it's covered up by a lot of grease. Since they're not chamber made. Right?
Yum,
No. So, all right. But so you just want to refine what it is you do and then figure out how, if it's a commodity, sell something about the commodity, because people won't remember what you say, but they will remember how they felt when they engaged with you. So you have to have them feel better about themselves after they left it, and that has to be an MO or something. I got to work with Petro Oil. They were one of my clients once upon a time, the largest home oil heating company in the United States. And I worked with them on mergers and acquisitions. I did work at Goldman Sachs briefly, and I learned an awful lot when I worked at Bank of Nova Scotia and Goldman Sachs, mostly Bank of Nova Scotia with mergers and acquisitions. But when I worked at the startup, I got to work with Petro, and I was on the team integrating mergers and acquisitions. And what they do is, first of all, they have to train the other customer service people. And how they train this is very, very specific. There's leaving nothing, because oil is a commodity, propane is a commodity. So people have to know, they have to have a very immediate flow chart for how problems, because they only need you if there's a problem. Okay? And I work at a postal service, and you wanna see bad service, go to any 5-digit post office on Google. And look at the star reviews. I mean, here's a place that has a monopoly. You know. And they haven't nailed it yet. They have a disgruntled workforce, they have very poor training. And I filed so many complaints to the postal service, I'm now on a first name basis with our congressional representative. Which is not a bragging right. It just tells you that my world is not fun all the time. But you don't have to be that way. You have to know what you want to do, how you want to show up, and then we can go to the places that are helpful. There's some terms you may not know, like what is Beyonce? If you're a graphic designer, when I hire a graphic designer, I insist on seeing their Behance.net profile. They all know what it is. I do not have to ask them. They know that if they do not have a Behance.net profile, I don't talk to them. If you're a lawyer, Avo is the Facebook for lawyers. Avo, AVVO, that is where you go for like, if you're searching for a lawyer. It is bloody expensive and they know it and they want to be there. That's just where you go. Now, if you're just a country lawyer, that's fine. You don't need to be there because you got your backyard. But if you're in, metro area, you're gonna need to stand out. So your watering holes are gonna be where your customers are. I have some recommendations, but I don't like to superimpose those. I usually like to ask people questions, leading questions, and then we can get to where they should be. I build websites, I build very good websites. I am not God's gift to website development. What I do is build very good websites that help people get immediate traffic, organizationally, and usually small, medium businesses. I do not fix other people's crap. I do not touch their other websites. Because I have too many problems. Someone will blame me for something else that went wrong another developer did. So you either come to my house or no house at all. It's Hobson's choice. So I either do it from scratch or I don't do it. I don't fix your Shopify problems. I could, but I don't do that anymore because people will always be calling me for some other screw up that someone else did. And to send that way with design too. I have spent more time holding people's hands to comply with mailing regulations in graphic design than it would have taken if I just designed the bloody thing to start with. So I've learned my own lessons on some of this. I've got a lot of stuff here, don't have to take notes, the PDF will be available, but is this helpful? Do you have any questions about this? Because this is a lot of info. I didn't want to overpack it, but there are some best practices here regardless of where you want to be. And we can get into the nuances here, and what I'd like to do is go back to outsiders, show you a web presence assessment of how Google assesses them. And then that should really prompt a lot of ideas. So, all of you out there, is this helpful? It's not like all of you out there, it's just Ray and me. Okay, but you guys good? Is this useful for you?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Okay. How did I keep this? Oh, 45, that's about what we got a little late start. I tried to get it just over half an hour. All right, so, and this is just, the guardrail at the end here. But, Ray, what I'd like to do is, go to a utility called SE Optima. I'm gonna unshare for a moment. Okay, go to escape. And this is where it's like, this is the fun part of the party.
You said SE Optima?
Yeah, it's a tool that I have. You don't have it. You have to pay a lot of money. But it allows me to assess websites. Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm going to do the then I'm going to do. So we're just going to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at chamber members, but I want to just make it simple, just pick one chamber member. And then we're going to go through some other ones and we'll go through your stuff too. Okay. So I'm going to share screens again. Okay, so this is utility that I have. It costs me money. It's called SE Optimer. I'm not pitching it. I have it because I build websites. And the first thing I do is someone says, I don't need a website. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Well, let's see what Google has to say about you not needing a website. See, I gotta point to third-party criteria. Because if it's just my opinion, then it's a one-on-one, pea shooter match. It doesn't help. You're gonna say you don't need a website, and I'm gonna say, well, I think you do, and then we will agree to disagree. So here I just say, okay, well, let's do an audit. All right, there's one of many. This is an audit utility. And we're gonna let it do its magic. And essentially it's a 12-page assessment of what SE Optimer says is good or not good about a website. Right, and I want to point out that it's very, very hard to get an A with this. Very, very hard. If we can get to a B, I consider a B a win for most people, a big win. If we get to a B plus, it's amazing. A minus is unheard of. A is like, oh, the gods are blessing you. C minus is not terrible, but that does mean there's room for improvement. All right, so C minus, so Outsider's Home, it's not shabby. We're gonna see worse in just a minute. So let's take a look at what did SE Optimer do in its 12-page assessment? What did it do? And if anyone ever did a disc profile, you see like the disc, profile on the right here. It has an on-page SEO of D+, and that really is bad. That means that when you land on the site, it's hard to figure out. Google saying, I can't figure out exactly what these guys do. Just I'm trying to bottom line it for you in like layman's terms. I like these guys because I can see they got stuff here, but it's not organized. Again, go back to CVS, everything's spaced. You got markers for the aisles and stuff. Oh, deodorant's over here, and you know where you're going here. Google's like, I think I know what you're doing, but I'm not super clear. So one way I do this, we're going to jump back, and I hope I can jump screens here. Sometimes the Zoom doesn't let me do that. Can you see I'm on Google now?
Looks like you're doing fine.
Okay. All right, I'm putting their phone number in Google, and this is how I see what's going on. I don't just read the report. I go into Google and say, all right, what's happening? I'm putting in their phone number, and let's see how they show up. Okay, so the first thing that should show up is your website. And that's not always the case. A lot of times people's Facebook accounts show up. Why do you think I don't like Facebook? Kind of already told you, but why do you think I don't like Facebook?
Well, it's not giving you a platform to really talk about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, it's not yours. Yeah, you make Mark Zuckerberg rich. You don't make yourself rich. You make Zuckerberg. He's already rich, by the way. He doesn't keep throwing him money, but essentially it's there to entertain you. It's not there to sell you anything, although they say they can do that, but in reality, they have a little bit of services, but at the end of the day, you want to own your traffic, you want to own the environment in which because people will be very distracted on Facebook. They will leave you very quickly. Oh, there's a cat video I didn't see yet. Oh, well, grandma, look at grandma, she's playing shuffleboard. They're going to leave you because Facebook wants you to stay in their world. They're not there just for you, they're there for everyone. All right, so the first two, and that's not wrong. And then the next one is actually the chamber, and it says Memby. All right, Memby is actually the paid service that the Delaware County Chamber uses to manage back end for all the other chambers. So it's not a surprise that it's there, but you would want to make sure that your profile in chamber is up to date, that you tagged your site, you tagged your email, and that because if people went there and they didn't see all that, they would be left, partially, potentially disappointed and be willing to look at other things. Now, this is called a direct search when I put in a phone number, but I like it. Now, if you just put in outside home services, that doesn't count because you're looking for something very, very specific. And that's not really a generalized search. That's not getting new customers. That's like, I can't get a hold of my best friend from high school and that's a direct search. That doesn't count. But when you're saying you want something that they do, then now they ought to show up. So if I put in things like carpentry or new home, I don't know, something like they do hardscaping maybe. You might put in something like, landscaping Delhi or landscaping Delaware. And if these guys do that, they better damn well show up on page one. Because Google is the most important social media thing. You don't think of it like that, but it is. And I can't tell you how many people to the right that we call that the recipe card. That's just the little bits of ingredients of how to reach you. If you don't set that up right, you're lost. Anytime we build a website, the first thing we do is fix that or set it up correct. Because that's gonna be the most important. And then we go down from there, and then we go to your Better Business Profile, your Manta. And these, I can't do the 1,001 things. But I want the basics set up. I wanna make sure your LinkedIn's set. Do I have to do that? I kind of do, because if you're gonna build a billboard in the woods, I'm not gonna build it for you. You have to have the context. But the anchor is gonna be your website. This is where I get really mad. A lot of people saying, well, I found my neighbor's kid does websites. Well, la-di-da, go to your neighbor's kid then. Right? Because if you think that we're expensive, just go to your neighbor's kid. No, because ultimately, we built a website for a guy in Walkill. It's called Timber Design Build. And he got $115,000 of deposits in the first month we built the site. 115,000. Now, it's also a little unfair because Google loves new websites and they love ranking stuff, and we built it to rank. And he had amazing pictures, so we had all the ingredients for the recipe. But I can sell commodities. So when I work in an oil company, I'm like, let's have fun with it. So remember how I said that I have to present a compelling argument? You know, I get an opportunity. Well, the two other things I have to do is I have to inflict massive pain on someone. All right, I know it sounds contrary. What do you think massive pain looks like on a website or a direct mail piece? I'm telling you, I didn't read it anywhere. That's why you haven't heard. I'm an accountant. If you don't file your taxes, I'm the only one that get you extension now. Okay, I'm the only one. I inflict massive pain. You have massive pain, I can solve that pain. You know, I have to help you. If you haven't bought a home yet, the homes are going. If I'm a realtor, I have to use leverage fear. FedEx does this all the time. They call someone in, did you FedEx it? Yeah, Jimmy says the package wasn't there. Did you FedEx it? The guy's looking like deer in the headlights. That's massive pain. They inflict massive pain on there. And the last thing I do is I make someone insanely curious, which is not applicable for what we're doing. And insanely curious is like BMW would run ads in magazines. And they would just show a car in the background in the Black Forest of Germany, no logo, no anything. No name, no nothing. Like, wow, there's a picture of forest. And is that a car? And they do this month after month. And then on this, it's sort of like Burma Shave. On my third month, they would have a little BMW logo right at the bottom. That's making people insanely curious. What I do to make people insanely curious is I'll do an EDVM piece and I'll just put my website on it. There you go. I briefly, for 48 hours, I ranked #1 in the United States for direct mail by doing it. #1. It's not right. It's not about reality. It's about how you showed up. Okay, so we got to take the shoulds and oughts out of this. You can drive whatever you want to drive, but you got to abide by, you got to stay like in the easy pass lane, all right? You know, you got to know where you need to be. And then I sort of know what, hey, here's the best route to get to here, right? And so that's kind of what I do. So I make someone insanely curious. I inflict massive pain, but usually it's presenting a compelling opportunity. With web presence, you just need to be where your customers are. But if you have something exclusive, don't go to Facebook. Facebook isn't for that. You want to find, like I worked for a company that all they did was build very expensive, high-end wine cellars, but you had to have a wine collection worth at least $100,000
To get their wine cellar.
Yeah, because they would quiz you. You would
Right,
almost.
they made it a criteria, yeah.
They
People
kind of,
want in,
it's your waste of our time.
you want in.
Yeah.
You have money, you want in, you want the
Yeah.
best.
And then they would ask who your sommelier is.
Mhm.
Because you.
Who your what?
Sommelier. who's your wine connoisseur? Because if you're collecting that amount of wine, you're not doing it on your own.
Mhm.
You're just not. You would be in the know. So they pre-qual people very quickly over the phone. They want to. Because they know people could fake out on like a Google form or something like that. Anyway, that's not our problem. That's hereditary. All right, so what I do here is I actually go down and I start seeing where, oh, good, they're on the Delaware County. All right, hooray. All right. Notice that we drop off very quickly. They're now not showing up anywhere. And why is that? Why is outside home services not showing up anywhere?
Their website,
Huh?
their website, you mean, or?
Well, why is there, I put in their phone number to Google.
The phone number.
Yeah, I put in their phone number. Why are they not showing up anymore? I mean, all of a sudden we're on Ohio State University. Why am I on Ohio State University? I mean, you can see their phone number at top, right? Did I not spell that correctly? I did. Why are they not showing up? Come on, you're all smart people, avoided the life of crime, right? They're not showing up because, well, they're not showing up. They didn't put themselves anywhere. They didn't go to the watering place. They didn't go to.
Put their phone number on the.
They didn't put their phone number. Basic stuff. These people, I went to their site, they're great. I love what they do. But ain't nobody know about it because they didn't go. So they actually have a nice site. So you do this by backlinks. You might say, well, what are the backlinks? Backlinks are your watering holes. Backlinks are your Manta.com, your Better Business Bureau, your Yelp profile. One of the things important about Yelp is totally unfair. I hate Yelp, by the way. And it's not even a love-hate relationship. I hate Yelp. We got a terrible bad review in January, like a scathing review. And I'm almost to the point where I was like in tears. We asked someone to pay an invoice.
Bastard.
I know,
Imagine that.
I mean, I almost don't have to tell you anymore. And then I was shamed for showing up. I was actually escorted out of the building. I was told never to come back again. I've never had this
Did you
happen.
leave with a check?
I did, I gave it back to her. I said, no, I did, I gave it back. It's that important. And this is actually relevant. I'm not just storytelling, it's relevant to web presence. She's like, and this was a rescue squad because I do work for a lot of 501c. So I do rescue squad work in fire departments. This is a rescue squad. Now, normally, because I'm on boards and I work in fiduciary responsibility boards, if you're going to engage a third-party service in fundraising, you usually budget for that, right? Fine, normal stuff, right? Because you have a budget, you work within the budget, and we do things, but it's in context of a plan. So if your plan changes, at least we have a plan budget that we work in context with. So we did a job, $4,000. It was just a rush. They came in the middle of December. I mean, who comes in the middle of December for a fundraising job? But Sean being the sucker that he is, and I want to help. You know, my wife works for a nonprofit. I want to help the tired, the lonesome, the weary, the mentally disabled fundraisers. We turn around a job in 5-6 days. You know, we edit, I help with copy. We piece it together. We have some stuff because they're recurring client. We get it out the next week. And it hits before Christmas, it's not just December, it's gotta hit before Christmas. And they don't deliver mail on Christmas. We don't have time to help on the website, by the way. We gotta get this in the mail. And then we show up to, we front the postage, front everything on this. There's no rush charges, because I've only got a rush charge if we charge rush charges. And then they said, well, we don't approve this type of work for, usually 30 to 60 days. Well, I have emails because our SOPs, and you damn well should have SOPs if you work with customers. If you look at our terms and conditions, it's on the website, stuff. I don't know what to say. Well, you insisted on this and it's totally disrespectful and we never been treated so rudely. I'm like, I went to the email threads when I got back. Luella has got to be one of the most Christian people I've ever worked with, and my bookkeeper. Don't do anything without their pastors telling them. They were in tears because they didn't do this. So anyway, why does this matter? Because there are going to be things out of your control. So we were told how terrible we are, how rude we were. Oh, we were fired, of course. I was escorted out for asking for a check. Now, is that going to happen? Yeah, because when you deal with the general populace, Ray and I are talking on the age of anger. There are people who are trigger happy to diss you on Travelocity, on on Yelp reviews.
Mhm.
They're gonna go anywhere that their negative experience tells them to go, and it's not about you. Now, how you counter that is gonna be a matter of how you manage your web presence. So I turned our review into a product. So I now go to businesses and say, if you experience negative Yelp reviews, I can help. And now you can't get rid of a negative Yelp review, but you can outweigh it,
You can't get rid of a negative Google review either.
but you can outweigh it.
So what
So
if you
you-
have a customer,
Mhm.
or what if you have somebody that's not even a customer and gives you a bad Google review?
Well, in Yelp, you can dispute it.
In
It's
Google, they
not,
don't.
it's not, Google is, you have no,
Yeah,
only thing you can do is outweigh it. So what you want to do is on a quarterly basis, is if you're in customer service, you have a pre-scripted, email link. Where you say, thank you for, you wait till the moment, Lufthansa Airlines calls it the point of light. So the chairman of Lufthansa said, anytime we talk to a customer, it's a moment of light. You have this opportunity where you can leave them with a good experience. You can't predict that, but if they have a good experience and you never know who it's gonna be, you say, would you be so kind as to leave a blank review? It could be on Manta, it can be on Yelp, it can be on Google, and that's gonna help you boost, raise the boats in these different areas. It's not just Facebook. Stay the hell away from Facebook, because people are not assessing services on Facebook. Your friends are already there, so if you say, hey, this is what I'm up to, they love to know, but they already like you. They don't need to like you anymore, so stay off Facebook. Go to the other places, especially Google, especially places where if you're an advo, a lawyer, you want to have good advo reviews. So those are going to be companies, but you got to be ready-made. So when the opportunity presents itself, you say, look, if they haven't, I've never done a Yelp link. Well, here's how you do it. Okay. So these are going to be the places to go, wherever they are, or wherever you want them to. And if they're grateful, but if you ask them a week later, I hate email experience, like, tell us about your experience. Like, I'm done with you. Like, this is a waste of my time, because it's an interference outside that moment of gratitude. It becomes a burden. And you just have to, the bliss is ephemeral. So we only have a few moments to share the bliss with people, but then you can outweigh it. Now, there's actually another school of thought that if you have too many good reviews, something's wrong. I know it sounds.
too good, no, too
Well,
good to
that
be
they're
true.
correct.
Yeah, that
There's
everything's
saying.
cooked, yeah, that's pre-baked.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to do that. I'm gonna stop sharing screen for a second. And we'll go back to we can't get back to the SEO. But we'll go back in a second. So you want some, I think the phrase is a certain number of fleas is good for the dog. I'm not sure I want to get too many fleas, but you want it because it looks real.
It's reality check.
It's reality check. So a 4.8 might be better than a 5.0 because it almost like, hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Nothing's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does this make sense though?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying about Facebook.
Sure.
Because I see so many business using it. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
I have to
that's
get
one of the,
Facebook just to get information about the local businesses here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way where they post it.
It's one of the ways in which,
Well, a lot of businesses here only have that as web presence.
yes, that's right.
Yeah,
It's because of we're so small, it's a small community.
yeah.
And
Sure.
that's where people live. People live through social media, I have to say that, we know that,
Totally.
a lot of people live through that, so, we work with companies. That help us with social media, website, etc. They have more success on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Here where we live locally,
Not so
it
much.
is an age demographic for those type of things,
Yeah.
it is not, Instagram is not our number one platform, Facebook is.
Perfect. You know what it is.
It is, I mean, we have a 5.0 on Facebook.
Hooray.
So to say, but how many people are giving reviews there? Now, Google is definitely more of a struggle. Because like I said, anybody, you call them warriors out there. Anybody can post anything they want, say anything they want about you. They don't even have to be a customer.
Okay, so
That's the hard one.
Tony Robbins has some great tactics here on this. He said the first thing you do is ignore people. Because if you start engaging with them, we're
yeah,
we're not selling babies out the back of if you meet them at their level. They come up with a crazy accusation.
Yeah.
If you're selling babies out the back of your telecommunications company, you only enliven their artificial
Right.
complaint. So
Right.
you first thing you do, ignore them. The second thing to do is you turn the question around. You don't like that we're closed? You make them defend crazy. Okay? And then the last thing you do is you just outright counter. We appreciate hearing from you. What you said is not true. You just have to say it like that. You don't have to explain yourself. You lose ground. You lose the moral high ground when you defend and argue.
Right.
You just tell it like it is. Now, when I say you don't, you ignore them. There's a difference, the problem is that people, unfortunately, psychologically, the human mind has a very difficult problem discerning truth from untruth. And if you ever read David Hawking's books, they would explain more about this. So people will, the old joke in TV that there was this, I don't remember the ad was, he says, "I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV," and everyone laughed how funny that was. But the fact is, it points to the fact that you put a guy an actor in a white doctor's robe, and they kind of like take it more seriously. I have a German friend who says, Americans are really crazy. You can put anything on TV and they'll believe it. Germans, not so much. But Americans like, oh, he must be a doctor, he's wearing a white robe. So we have a hard time, when you get negative reviews, people have a hard time distinguishing. You have to counter some of them at some point. There are places, like Central Hudson knows this all too well, you counter every review. Even if you say the same thing again and again and again. So I'm not telling you to totally ignore it, but there are certain types of crazy that you can't engage with. But you counter everything because at least you've said your piece.
Yeah, if I might,
Right?
I found
Yes,
at
please.
my previous museum, we were a half point off a perfect score on Yelp. And so we rarely got bad reviews, but when we did, there were two kinds.
Yes.
There was the person who had no interest in the subject, who was dragged there by whoever they were there with,
Yeah.
or there was an event of bad service by my staff, which was very, very rare. So I used to always address when it was a matter of being the wrong person for the museum, saying, well, no, I appreciate that. This is not something that everybody appreciates, but if you notice our good reviews, many, many people like what we do. Then if it's bad service, acknowledge and apologize and say, at the end of the day, we all in this life have a bad day. I am going to call my staff in and give them hell for it. But thank you for writing. Yes, sometimes we're not at our best game.
Yeah, but I mean, you own it. There's no better way. In my instance, I actually took the woman's comments seriously. I reviewed all the email communication, the timeline, we have project management notes, and I wrote a letter in return. I said, this is what, I said, thank you for meeting with me. I didn't include the fact that I was escorted out by one of her staff. I didn't know why he was doing it, but I wrote a letter. I took her complaint seriously, and I said, I found no evidence to back any of this up. And would you please kindly remove your Yelp review? And I gave her 2 weeks, and then I pretty much posted that letter with my request that I had asked them to remove their Yelp review and said, this isn't how we roll, this is all completely fictitious. Now, I feel because I work with so many not-for-profits, for me, it's a danger to have a rescue squad diss me because I work with rescue squads, for me, it's not casual. But it also reminded me, is like, I need to outweigh this. I need to come up with new strategies. And so the present moment will tell you what to do. I love what you've done there is you're not saying you honor the complaint, but you took it seriously, and then you own the fact that maybe there's room for improvement, but you don't have to recriminate yourself either. Because everyone's not gonna have a bad day. It's just collectively, can we do better? And I think that's really the spirit of it. Can we do better again and again and again? Can we do better? Can we improve? And if you have that kind of Kaizen, in Japan it's called Kaizen, that continual improvement approach, then you'll be able to wear and tear the complaints if you have a genuine problem. Let's say you got to cancel an event. You have a potential, but if you don't have the goodwill build up, you won't be able to spend down your bank account in goodwill because you haven't banked the countering with immaculate service in other ways. So here's where, again, it's sort of like, I can go in a lot of different directions on this. But we could take a look at other chamber members and it's not blame shame, and we can go through more of this if you want. But we're just about at the hour point, so I want to give some grace to the fact that an hour is a long time to sit still. You know, I have an 11-year-old, I don't know how he could possibly sit still for. Yeah, I mean, except unless he has a device in his hand, of course, then he can sit still for longer. But I guess so, thank you, this is really helpful, to use a real world example in Yelp, and I like Yelp because it's such an imperfect social media platform. So if you put in direct mail to Yelp, you get, for me, I get doctor's offices in Poughkeepsie. And I called Yelp like, WTF, Yelp, like, why are doctor's offices showing up? And like, oh, well, they put in direct mail. I'm like, no, they didn't. That's not what they sell. Yelp is a mess, but you can use the incongruities in some of these social media sites to your advantage. So all of a sudden we realized that because these things, now what happened was we made Yelp explain themselves. I don't want to focus on Yelp, but it's a good example of how these things work. If I have someone put in the reviews, I ask them to review stuff for me in Yelp, and I have them put in that we love granola bars. If you put in granola bars in Colorado, I will show up on Yelp because Yelp doesn't know any different. They're using AI bots. They can't tell, like, they're so reliant on automation that unless someone does something really dumb, like I did get a negative review removed on Yelp because it violated their terms and conditions. They wouldn't remove it until I pointed out to them, you can't have ad hominem attacks on Yelp. And it was an ad hominem attack by a former employee. And so, you know, it's not the right place. They go to Glassdoor, by the way. Glassdoor is a terrible place too. But you ever screw up at work? Yeah, you'll see yourself in Glassdoor. So anyone can throw a stone at me on it, you know. I mean, essentially anyone can throw a stone at any of us. It's a good point. You don't even have to be a customer.
Right.
But I would point out though, you should point out that this person's not a customer. Call them out on it. You can hide, and that's one of the worst things about the web. You can hide.
Yeah.
You can do all sorts of terrible things. So your web presence needs to be more Teflon than it would normally be even 10 years ago. You have to build up defenses because it's the crazy people who will tear you down.
You know, Sean, it's interesting, when you pulled up for outsiders, the web search, the Google search, I
Yeah.
should say. I didn't, you're right, I mean, it jumped to Ohio State University, which I don't understand, but.
The numbers are in that post somehow.
I didn't see Facebook.
Yeah, they're there.
And
but
is that
they,
just because they don't have their phone number
oh, let's go to the website.
in Facebook?
Let's go to the website. Can we see Outsiders website, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, let's see where their social media is. There's Facebook, right? Let's go to the Facebook page. How did they show up? They may not have put a phone number on their Facebook page. They did. I don't know if it's the same phone. It is the same phone number. I don't know. There's something that's not.
I'm just wondering if there's something going on between Google and Facebook, because I, you know.
Well, one thing is that they're not rated in Facebook.
Okay,
There's no, so they're not really showing up. They have information, but just because you have information doesn't mean it's tied. See,
Got it.
what Google likes is to see that other people like you. Google likes to see that you
I
have,
haven't posted in a year.
yeah. I mean, I could go through some
But are
other
you
ones.
friends with, do you follow them on Facebook? or-
No, I just thought their site was pretty.
So sometimes you can't see, if you are a friend or a follower, you can't see their most recent post.
See, this is good stuff
And
here.
it could be the most relevant. not the-
One of the problems is when you get busy, you don't tend to post as much because, hey, we're busy. We don't need.
They have 4 followers. I don't think Facebook is.
Is their platform.
But I don't totally fault them on this either. This is for people who already like them. They have 3 likes and 4 followers. It's okay, all right, because these guys are good at what they do. But they could do more. There are a couple things they do that I didn't like that they did here. Like this is great, but it's just an image. And images don't have, you see the phone numbers here? But because the phone number is embedded in an image, it can't rank at all.
Right,
It's just like a
doesn't
Polaroid,
get
it's like
picked
putting a
up.
Polaroid on the web.
sure.
It doesn't count. Great page looking nice. They haven't really done a lot and that's okay, but they actually had a band. Like one of their pictures was playing in a band somewhere. Don't put that stuff on. Google can actually read your, it's metaphoric, but it can read your images. So if you put stuff like, hey, we went to vacation in Sarasota and here's our dogs on the beach. Google will give you a -1 for that. Even though your friends like it, put that on Facebook. That's what should go on Facebook. Don't put it on your company. Because Google is going to say it's not contiguous and it's not congruous with the services that you purport to offer. Don't use your website as like your personal MySpace. All right, it's got to stay on point. You have to stay on point with what you're doing.
Okay.
So you can do it, but that's what Facebook's for.
Right.
Remember, it's okay. But I don't, yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Sean, you said you do a lot of work with nonprofits.
Yes.
I would never even have considered trying to search out our nonprofit on Yelp, for example. I view that as more like,
You would if you found you had a negative review there.
well, right, but like I've never looked. I know,
Most people don't.
I know we have a negative review on Google, and we picked the Tony Robbins ignore it option.
I don't blame you.
I
I've
looked
done-
into it, you know,
Yeah.
like, is, you know, asked our staff what's the background here.
Right.
And when we opted to ignore,
You could, you could,
Business that you have.
I'm with Rural Health Network. We're a nonprofit serving a multi-county area.
I don't blame you, but you get a certain number of them, you're gonna have to do something. One or two, you know, there's this expression in German, einmal ist einmal. To have happened once is to never have happened. But once you get a bevy, you know, or heard or tried of negative reviews, you kind of have to address them. You don't want to do it downstream. You want to do it upstream. I also
I
do it
would
as a.
ignore a series or a, you know.
Well, I also, one of the things I would also use as a website too, is also use it as a prophylactic. I want, like, when I did a website for New Glass in Orange County, they're the largest glass provider company in Orange County. And I asked the guy, back to the organic question, what kind of customer do you want? What's your favorite customers, like car dealerships? Oh, that makes sense, lots of glass, lots of glass, you know, and this is big boy glass too, this is the thick stuff, it's, you know, I gotta work with AIA architects, you know, I'm not dealing with like, oh, I like the color of that, you know, they're not dealing with, you know. I said, well, who don't you want? I don't want the small stuff, so I said, so if a neighbor's kid puts a baseball through a garage door or window, you don't want that, no, I don't want them calling. So the website only shows Dunkin' Donuts franchises, we only show, car dealerships, we only show the big boy stuff. Nothing on there suggests that anything residential be there except for $1 million homes. So I use, for that case, I use the website as a prophylactic saying, yo, stay away. And especially for like carpenters, if you don't like doing decks, then do not put pictures of decks on anywhere in social media. Don't let your customers put them on. Encourage them to put another picture on.
Because Google's gonna read that photo.
And they're gonna drive,
And,
they're gonna drive it to you, yeah.
okay,
So Google's getting really smart. Google's biggest problem right now is that people are using ChatGPT 3.5,
yeah,
which is the free version, and they're writing blog crap with it. And Google's being a tsunami of AI-driven pedestrian blog crap that is causing havoc. So, yes,
But you also have to write your own description on every image that you put on your website, right? So you
it's
can,
a best practice, yeah.
Yeah.
Do people do that?
I do it.
Yeah, good. You're unique.
But then you can manipulate it too or not. And
Sure.
does that Google, like, do they read it and then see your description or how do you?
Well, people usually put up an image because they like it and they assume everyone else will like it, but they don't think about the mechanics behind it.
Yeah,
Google is doing this from a very utilitarian point of view. They're not gonna call you and ask you, well, you know, is this the best picture you have of that? You know?
no, I mean, like, if Google sees that there's a photo of a deck and you write something else.
Yeah, they'll see, if you do enough of it, they'll see that it doesn't add up.
Yeah,
You know, you can't be like the French impressionists, you know, ceci n'est pas une pipe. You know, you can't say this isn't a pipe and have a picture of a pipe on an impressionist painting, you know, it can't be Bauhaus crazy, not impressionist, but, you know, the sort of, you can't do crazy on the web, you have to be consistent.
yeah,
You can't be funky, you can't be Reddit on if you're trying to speak to the audience. What I like doing is actually, once we get to a maturation, when it's like a nonprofit, I want to manage my audience. Because my job is to raise cash and awareness, so I always need to figure out, how do I move people who are interested into my membership periphery? Like when I work with CoArc, and I work with a lot of ARCs, and I work with CoArc in Columbia County. We want to get people to just get into a basic, like us kind of mode. But I want to capture information. So on a website, I want to sign them up for an email newsletter. Cost them nothing. If you like us, join our newsletter. But I will make damn sure I get their address, because when I ask for money, I'm going to do it through the mail.
Okay.
I can't do it through email. People do not get, now, you have an earthquake in Haiti, great. Red Cross can raise $100,000 in one day. But that's sugar candy. It's not an annuity. It's not a marketing plan. It's not a budget. When I work with a rescue squad, they will actually budget $45K a year based on the mailing that we're doing. But the website and Facebook, everything supports the mission. So, does that make sense?
yeah, a question, because I know what we are selling and what we stand for, and we have a good website, but now we have to find the water holes to get people to our website. And if you're saying don't use Facebook, but I feel like a lot of I would say that's a water hole for us, but I don't know for sure. What are like water holes that
Sure.
would get the most people to my website? Would that be Google, and then get as many links on other websites so your
Yeah.
rating is high?
I have to know more about what you're doing, but just let me be clear on the problem with Facebook. Facebook is not a problem. It's just, it's a way of rewarding people who already like you. That's just, I want you to think of it like that. If they're on your Facebook page, they probably already like you.
Well,
So you're
here in Delhi-
engaging with, like you said, folks who already like you, not, it's not a.
Difficult
prospect
to,
thing.
it's difficult to get new people unless they're searching for you. But it's a little bit of a hard sell, and even if they search for you, they're gonna see they're gonna get distracted, because Facebook's also
Right.
gonna offer them different stuff too, not that Google doesn't, it's just that. Ultimately, Facebook's driving the conversation, they're driving the revenue, and you wanna get people to your website as much as possible, because then you own the environment. You know, you want them to
Okay.
come to your backyard. You know, but you're in Facebook's backyard if you're on there. So I just can't do as much on someone's Facebook page. It's not my show. You know, it's not my house. I can't sell tickets. I'm working with a nonprofit in Mount Tremper. You know, overall the website, so we can sell event tickets, we can fundraise, of course, and we have ongoing programming. So each month, people are rewarded for going there. They see the long-term calendar, but they also see this is what we're doing. We're doing kirtan, we're gonna do yoga, we're gonna do health and awareness, apothecary, Ayurvedic stuff. Every month they're rewarded for coming here, not Facebook. Coming to the programming that we offer through the website, and we will stream to the VIP club.
But
But you need customers.
I need customers, and they might not know that we are here. So
Right.
Facebook is a way to say in news around Delhi, hi.
Yeah.
Sure,
Link
absolutely.
it to
This is
your
Delhi.
website.
Huh?
But when you post, make sure
Yeah.
you link your website.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
And
a basic
Instagram,
best
you can't
practice.
link your website.
Right, that's,
Love it.
yeah, they have to
But-
get them to your.
No, I also use direct mail to drive web traffic too. And the cheapest direct mail is 20.1 cents a piece, every door direct mail. And I will saturate Andes. It's easy to do, the market value, the market. I look at the demographics, you know, I grew up in Poughkeepsie, and there's some parts of Poughkeepsie that people ain't gonna buy anything from, and there's other parts that is pretty affluent. I look at affluence as a determinant whether I should drive web traffic from certain areas. So again, it's knowing your audience, knowing where I wanna be.
Well, If I might
yeah.
also, I think that it also depends where you are in your process, that where we found Facebook is really useful is we had 3 very successful businesses with a big web presence and big television presence in the papers and all. We got knocked down to 0. So we're building, and we just have spent a lot of money to buy the property we're putting the new museum on. So we're using Facebook to go to people who knew us. We had 8,000 people write to the mayor of New York on our behalf about a year ago. So this is a good audience to bring in. So we've been on Facebook with our project now for about 2 weeks, and we've got 170 members, not hits, people who
Right.
joined because they
Right.
want to keep up with what we're doing and eventually come to the new museum. So I think that, but it's a very limited, it's a step towards doing what you're saying of getting people who've never heard of us.
Yeah, look, you had an unfair advantage. You already knew who your peeps were. You know, you're very lucky. Most people don't have that grace, that gift. And then I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's the only go-to you have. I think you gotta mix it up because right now you have to have a multi-pronged attack in almost anything you're doing. And so I've never said direct mail is the end all. I don't think Facebook's the end all, even the website's not the end all. It's a matter of intelligently adjusting the knobs with a plan or a goal in mind so that you know where you're going and you can make more fine-tuned adjustments. The worst thing a restaurant can do when they open is do nothing. The absolute worst thing, yeah, you want to kill a restaurant, don't tell anyone it exists. You know, in fact, there's an old saying, it was actually from Taxi, if any of you ever watched the TV show Taxi, if you want it, it's an old saying, but it was on Taxi one time. You want to kill a play in New York. The worst thing you can do, if you're a critic and you're trying to kill a play, the worst thing you can do is give it a good review. You're not going to do that because you want to kill the play. The next worst thing you can do is give it a bad review. Because you're going to make people insanely curious. It can't be that bad. Cats can't be that bad. I mean, I don't love the soundtrack, but it can't be that bad. I have to go see it. You know, the best thing you can do if you want to kill a play is give it no review. Nobody knows it exists. You don't tell anyone about it. So you've got to do something. So we can look at your websites here. I don't have to go through outsiders here, but we can talk about, we can put your sites in if you want to talk about where you're at.
I would love to.
Oh, okay. We have a Wiener.
Open to the criticism.
We have a Wiener. Okay, so I'm gonna go to,
I do think though, for Facebook,
yes,
around here, your best bet is to find whatever locations you're trying to reach, because I've done this in the past, and you find those groups, so news around Delphi, news around Walton has like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Good neighbors of Delaware County, and that's where you're gonna try to feed your info in, not too much, because people get annoyed by it.
that's a good point.
But,
That's a good point.
and
Yeah,
then get them to come to your website that way, because
yeah,
and then word of mouth. So if you
Yeah.
have some good customers that are like, ooh, blah, 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 like, I'll be more apt to listen to my friend that says, I really like the cheese over at, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And then that's also how you're gonna kind of spread that in this.
yeah.
But you have to like post in these different groups, just
Yeah.
posting on your page.
So,
You're gonna get the people that come by.
to do stuff for free, okay? And your
Yeah.
point's well taken, do stuff for free. There's a guy on YouTube called Gary V. All right, let's go to my premium YouTube channel for a minute. Hopefully I'm not gonna be embarrassed by anything that shows up there. Please don't okay, great, I'm okay, I'm good. All my wood crafting videos are Gary V. Oh my God, there's Gary V. All right. This is TMI for all of you. So Gary V, he's a social media guru, he's God. All right, Gary V. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk, all right? And he's a self-described small Jewish kid from New Jersey, he came from Belarus when he was 3 years old. He's so funny. He's this potty mouth as all get out. And he gets so upset at this generation that says that you can, I can't do anything or nothing's working. And he gets so pissed at hearing people talk about how unable to do stuff that he takes his crew and they go garage sailing in Bergen County. I could sell shit on, I get garage sales for more money than the stupid stuff you're talking about. And he essentially shows people how, I don't listen to me, but how about we just go garage selling together? And he now it's, of course, he has an unfair advantage, and he gets recognized, of course, because he's from Northern Jersey. He's got millions of followers and stuff, but he says in this market, there's no excuse for not running a business. TikTok is free, everything's free, your smartphone is a fully usable camera and Super 8 movie, there's nothing you can't do with a smartphone. And he says, well, what do? You post every single day, every day. I got new shoelaces, post it. You want to just put massive amounts of content out there. It's not hard to do. You can get a free YouTube channel. So he's really great. You want to try and get creative, go, Gary Vee is a great resource to do. I don't need to go through all the stuff, but he's funny and he does a lot of live stuff. So podcasts, get creative. Like I tried to convince one of the propane companies I had, let's do April Fool's Day, let's do cinnamon raisin, jalapeno, chive and onion flavored propane. Let's send a postcard, we send it out like, oh, no, we'll have the state regulators all over them. Oh, we'll send them to me. I'll come in, I'll tell them it's April Fools. I gotta have fun with commodities, but whatever you're selling, you could always do massive content online. It's always a possibility, right? It's one of the ways. I don't think it's the only way, but you have to meet your audience where they're at. Now, if it's a TikTok driven audience, great. If it's someone like me, Ray, not so much. We're not gonna be, TikToking or, you just have to sort of know where you wanna be.
And on
Alright,
that note, like
I
when you
know.
go into the different pages, if you can see them ahead of time, look through them, because some of them are just junk groups. So you
Yeah.
don't wanna post in
Yeah.
there, because they're just gonna,
you can't be fluffing her, yeah.
yeah, they're just gonna mess with you.
Okay, so what's your website address? Where am I going?
RHN
RHN.org?
SCNY. Yep.
Okay. And I'm gonna do just we're gonna let this run in the background. Okay. Usually ranks like good B plus, we'll come back and see, we know it's in the oven.
It
Wasn't as bad as I thought.
It usually starts
wasn't
good.
done.
changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They start.
Sometimes it's the place.
All right, got it.
You always start good with that's the optimum, but, and it's always the harshest critic. I mean, what it took me to get to A, it took weeks for me. In fact, I still have a problem with backlinks. Backlinks is where you show up in other areas, but you
Yeah.
gotta convince people. By the way, if someone approaches you to buy SEO services, don't do it. Okay, I don't believe in it. It's a waste of money. I paid for it, I tried it out, I tried 2 or 3 different people, just so I could tell you not to do it. Spent over $1,000 paying pimply faced turds. About who said that they knew about SEO, they don't. You are your own SEO, just do what Google wants. I'll give you a little story from my office. I had one of my programmers come in years ago and he said, I finally figured out how to beat Google. I'm like, oh, do tell. I've been wanting to know for so long. And he kind of put his head down. He said, well, actually we can't. They all went to Stanford. They're really smart. We can't beat. I said, all right, well, it's kind of what I expected. He
Beat
said,
him, join him.
but join them. So he said, here's what I figured out. Surrender. Just give Google everything it wants. And what do you think Google wants for all its customers? They just want you to be you, just be genuine. Tell it like it is. Be a normal person. Don't use canned images on your website. Like here, this is great. You have actual normal people, right? If I'm a contractor, I don't want to see manicured, con film festival, unrealistic people in front of like $1 million home, something you bought on Shutterstock, iStock. What I want to see is an overweight, fat white dude with tattoos, his arms sticking out of the window of a Ford F-150. That's what I want to see because I'll believe that. It's genuine. So Google just wants real images, genuine images, because what people want to see is themselves in the mirror. They look at the website, and if they don't feel like they see themselves, they feel a little alienated from you.
Sure, people wanna fit in.
They wanna, you wanna be approachable at their level.
Is Google able to read when you use something like a iStock photo or?
Yeah, in fact, they know how many people have used it too. On the
Okay.
image alone,
Yeah.
even if you rename it, they will know how many people use that image.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's dangerous to do, I almost always deter people from using
Yeah.
anything canned. Now, the problem is in like rescue squads, there's HIPAA laws about taking pictures of people, you know, and even in healthcare.
I was gonna say, we have a mix. This one happens to be real people.
Well, yeah, it looks like real people, that's great, but it also
But
has.
you would find some other high stuff stuff on
The
here.
value of this image is great because it's real, it has actually a health awareness to it automatically, even if you didn't know. Like, we take out
4 years old.
the rest of it, yeah, well, it's okay, but, you know, you will, all right, you change it, but, all right, we take out the rest of this, you don't know what's going on here, we just cut done with, you know. Digital earmuffs, if you just saw this. You would know it's health related, that's really important, so the picture automatically drives your awareness, you know that you landed in the right place. Cause with your URL, you can spell that wrong, alright, so, alright, it's fine, it doesn't roll off your tongue, there's a lot of consonants in there. It's not wrong, it's just, you know, we gotta work with what we got. By the way, the domain doesn't matter that much, I don't get all like, oh, I have to have a .com, no, you don't. You just have to have a killer website, okay, in my humble opinion. So here, let's go back to, I don't wanna talk about anything until we have something to talk about, so let's go back to A minus, which is extraordinary.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
So why is it A minus? So first of all, let's look at the, performance is almost like a, you know, you showed up, it's a, everybody gets pretty high, alright, you get the show. Your on-site SEO is really what is your content, the things about what you do. Are you talking to your audience? Yes, you are. Are you saying the things that they are here for? Google's saying yes. Your on-site is very high. It's unusual to get on-site, on-page SEO that high. There's on-page SEO and then there's off-site SEO. Off-site SEO are like the backlinks. So if you belong to a chamber, that's off-site SEO. You talk about the value of the services you do. Usually means you've got a lot of good content. You tag your pages correctly. You have what's called meta tags in the content. You're doing a lot of stuff right. And everything lines up. The pictures line up with the text supports the pictures. It's also up to date. You've been probably actively posting, and Google likes it. They love seeing the mission right away. What is it that we do? Because that is why people are here. If you don't say what you do right away, Google knows. They say this is, and then this is called, this is probably backed up by a sitemap. It's very well organized. So Google wants, for its customers, who are everybody, he wants to see that everything is lined up and nice in the store that you have. Let's just call it the store. Everything is straightforward, is clear. This also makes fundraising my job a lot easier when I go to fundraise, because I need to be consistent with what your web presence is. Because if you're doing crazy stuff out there, I have a real hard time explaining, or I'll know, or you'll know, because people don't give money. So if you keep on point with your story all over the place, it makes fundraising a lot easier. Testimonial, fantastic. All right, basic stuff. This is all picked up by Google. You have auto feed from Facebook. You can overdo it. You do have some photo images here, but it's not the end of the world. You're not being punished for it. You can embed Facebook onto your website. I do it for many of the sites, but not all the sites I do. It all depends whether, again, where's the water in it. So links, everyone has a problem with links. I think I'm only even at a B- now for links. Links are, can you show up in other places? So you want to show up at all the other social services places. Anyone who's a partner with the organization, you need to go backlink from them. Just because they have your picture doesn't mean it's a backlink. So I would go and ask people. When I build websites, for me, it's easy because every website I do, I spray the hydrants, you know, like that page has my backlink and that page has.
So when you say links in that case, by a backlink, it would be somebody else has our web address?
Yeah,
As
someone else.
opposed to, we have a list of,
Yeah, so let's say you, I'm trying to think, who's a partner for what it's like, where do people come from to get to you? Like a doctor's office with a doctor's office?
sometimes, and it kind
County
of
court?
depends on which program, no, not usually.
Okay.
Lots of other social service organizations, we're a member of 3 or 4 chambers.
Sure. So
Um,
any one of those, it could be United Way, it could be any of them. You want to have a profile on their page,
right,
and that gives you a higher link rating. Google really likes it because they say, hey, these people are real, they're actually doing something. They actually, because they want to see that you have friends. And you're not faking people out. It's easy to create a fake website in China. And all of a sudden convince people you're someone you're not.
Mhm.
And Google takes that authenticity very seriously. If you are linked and have tethers in other people's world, you are gonna rank higher in Google because they believe you. And you're also doing something that's theoretically of service to other people. Remember, who are their customers? They're everywhere. So the more links you have, the more valuable. It's not one thing, but it is very important to do. There's also, in some ways, it's unavoidable. Look, if you're one of the few people in the world that fight fires, out of control fires, you're not gonna have a lot of backlinks, because most people don't need to. You're not gonna need it, but they're also not going to be referring people to you. It just won't make sense. So you won't have as many backlinks if you read a deer, but you don't need them anyway. But if you're trying to develop a presence, or if you're an influencer, let's say you sell honey, okay? You want to really have backlinks, because honey is a commodity, so you have to have, people are essentially buying the story about your honey, not the honey, by the way. So you want to have a story that's really heartfelt. So maybe there's wild turkeys on your honey farm. Well, you want to have a local animal rights group might do a feature on the fact that you're supporting wild turkeys with, you just try and get that type of pollination, if you can, but it may be difficult to do, and that's why it's, for most people, C+ to A- is really gonna be good. I wouldn't get less than a C on links though.
So Sean, when you're talking about links, you just, mentioned the wild turkey. So if a magazine or a newspaper does an article about the organization and mentions, puts in that article, the website,
Yep.
that's a link.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, the more that you can be commented on other
Okay.
places. So I have tried to blog, and this is where I put in kind of as a teaser, should we do blogs? Because blogs sucks. I don't know if you guys ever wrote blogs, but blog writing sucks. It's hard. When I write blogs, I usually write a minimum of 2,500 words. And I have to do things that are, remember, blogs are useful. Blogs shouldn't be just blah, 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 and that's Google's problem, because most people are using ChatGPT and they're just generic crap. And so much of it Google can't so Google's trying to lower rank those people. They will catch up, and they will use AI to defeat your AI rating. The whole world is moving to AI, and I can't tell you how quickly all this is going. It has been going for a while. It's happening quickly. Just an aside, if you've been reading baseball scores, quarterly public traded company quarterly results, those have been written by AI for 10 years. People are not writing those. Those have automatically been, the baseball scores, they've already been, they're not written by people anymore.
Great.
Drill the line drive to get a second. There's a limited level of verbiage.
So AI already knows that the Mets are gonna lose tonight.
There is statistical analysis, that's another talk, or that we can't do that talk.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Outside.
Thank you.
All right. Usability is the site set up properly for Google to index it and understand what you're doing. Again, it comes to like facing your store. There's a lot of little things to do. You can get to A on this, but it takes conscious effort. If someone has a bad site and their usability is at D+, E-, I can't work on their site. I gotta redo it, right? Because it's too much work for me to fix other people's WordPress, right? All right, performance is very straightforward. Either the site loads quickly or doesn't. Don't worry about that. And social, there's really no excuse for app. You really need to do that.
I was gonna say, that's
No,
pretty bad.
that's really bad. You could do better. It may not actually affect your overall score that much up here. It may or may not, but your social, you just need to tag the places where Google just likes to see that you're out and about. You're not sitting in your couch. That's all. They want to see that you already had a placeholder in Facebook, whether you claimed it or not. But if we get to manta.com, so let's put it
I'm
in.
feeling like we're probably we're putting a good bit of effort into Facebook to not be doing it correctly if we're getting an F.
You're only doing Facebook. That's the problem.
Pretty much.
All right,
We have
well, then
the-
it shows.
We have a LinkedIn account, we have a Twitter account, or an X account, or whatever.
I don't like Twitter either,
Which
by the way.
I'm
Twitter's a
not
waste
a
of-
fan.
Twitter's a waste of money. And you're also on the risk of alienating people now with Twitter, because people don't like Elon Musk, so I would stay off of X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter, I refuse to call it X. Look, I'm looking for ROI. Are your people gonna be on Twitter? Now, if you're a political commentator, you better be on Twitter. All right, but if you're selling honey, really?
Yeah.
Do you really need to be there?
We got a little bit, we did some advocacy work on a particular
Well, that's-
topic
that's
last year,
different.
and,
That's
and it
advocacy.
was the one place that we got some interaction on X, or whatever you call it these days. But in general, I don't feel like it's where our audience is and where we should put our efforts.
Okay, all right, so let's just take a look at your social media, where you're showing up social media. I'm just trying to do two things at once, neither successfully, so. Okay. Real, all right, you got a counter 2 negative reviews, you got 2 reviews, one's probably good, one's probably bad, it averages out to 3, so you can outweigh that, that's one of your problem. Right there. This is what you lead with. It looks like an abandoned warehouse
We know.
in upstate New York somewhere, just saying.
And can I change that picture?
Well, I can't, so,
Well, no, but what I mean is like,
yeah. you
it's
could, yeah.
probably the Google
You
Map
haven't claimed,
picture.
you haven't claimed your Google profile.
We have,
Well, you didn't do
Um,
much with it
but-
then if you claimed it.
but obviously not the picture.
Well, claiming it means that you say what your website is, your phone number, your pictures, it's the whole thing. You may have done some of the minimum, but you got. Sure, but this picture is what people see when they land on.
Okay.
Or you put in your phone number, this is what they're gonna see. You can change it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Outside of that, Google's gonna put in the map because you didn't give it anything else. And that's fine, because sometimes I like to see that. But if you wanna manage the web presence, you tell them what you'd like them to see. Now, you do have links elsewhere, so Groom County Volunteers, absolutely, that's great. Tioga County Chamber, great, love it. Some of the other chambers, great. Food and Health Network, great. So this is, MB again is the back end for Delaware County, but there's also back end for other chambers as well. You may have, job postings may show up too. You just want to be here, so here, we can, it says updated, but it doesn't mean that you updated it, just means it's on updated.
It totally doesn't.
All right, so see, this is unclaimed,
Okay,
all right? I'm not saying you have to, again, it's not should or ought, but it's could. If you want to boost your links, you got to claim where people have already set you up. If I go to manta.com, you should be in Manta. Believe it or not, MapQuest is still relevant. I can't get this out of my head.
that however is not where we live anymore.
Exactly. So what Google says is, whether or not you don't like MapQuest, the problem is, it sees inconsistency, and this is part of your ad, is that you haven't managed your web presence successfully enough because there's incongruous elements out there. And Google adds all this up, all the plus ones, all the negative ones, and you get an overall score of what they.
Interesting.
We call plus ones negative ones because it's kind of a group. So it's an analogy, but the analogy kind of fits. So great, and by the way, you ranked down here from 4 years ago for Facebook. I don't know why, but there's something you did here that it liked and it ranked you, but that was 4 years old. So probably because of the phone number, that's why the phone number showed up on the Facebook post. So I'm always putting my web address, my email info at, and also a phone number whenever I can. Right, it's part of my spring hires to get up there. And then you're showing up again, direct search. Donor Snap, sure, I mean, you can be on GoFundMe and other things like that, if you need other people to do it. MapQuest again, and then you get into sort of the second tier, lower tier social media things like chambersofcommerce.com, us.com, these are all yellow page or yellow page knockoff stuff. You want to be on, it may not be that hard to be part of SUNY sites, so you can put some of this stuff in. BuzzFire, will always be in BuzzFire. Because you already have an account, you might as well claim it. You don't know you have an account, but you might as well claim it.
What is BuzzFile?
Yeah.
BuzzFile is one that we use all the time in my office. It's sort of just a listing of businesses. Now, it used to be that Dun and Bradstreet was kind of like the anchor,
Yeah.
but Dun and Bradstreet's really lost a lot of its polish. And more often than not, BuzzFile is just as good and it's free.
Okay.
So we used to use Dun and Bradstreet data years ago, all the time, as a premium, but we would use it. I haven't used it in probably 7 years. BuzzFile is just an online business listing, and it's another way of putting your profile. If we go, we'll see Manta. I like Manta. Manta's been hanging in there for a long time. See if we can find Manta, I don't see it. You have an old constant contact showing up, it's, you know. By the way, if John doesn't want his email out there she be. So,
Well,
he may not like it, but everyone knows where to find him now, and same with
as of
Wagner.
yesterday, he's not our executive director
All
anymore.
right, well,
Oh, we did step down?
Yeah.
Huh, I wondered if that was up to date or not, yeah.
Well, he was our intern,
He was, I know.
and our new person started yesterday.
Demetrius on that.
all right, well, you don't have to go backwards.
I'm good.
You don't have to go backwards, but again, Google's putting everything into the soup bowl,
Okay.
trying to make sense of this. And then you have the legacy stuff, okay? Now, you're not gonna need to do anything with that, you just have to keep updating with new stuff, but because you don't have other stuff ranking out there, Google's saying, all right, your page 1 is a 2017 newsletter. Cause you don't have other stuff out there, so you don't look great. And
Okay.
that's how come we're talking about why'd you get the app, that's why you got the app.
Okay.
All right, it's not all wrong, it's just that these are the things. I just might put in Manta to show you. And these are just free and easy, that's why I like showing it, okay? So, for some reason, it's not. Yeah, I gotta send it here. It should automatically push me through, so, yeah. Unclaimed,
And-
unclaimed here,
But
okay?
that's not you.
But that's not us, yeah.
All right, because that's not your phone number, all right, so you don't have a profile, I would go get a profile. These are just the things, okay, that there's no right or wrong, but these are the things, overall, good stuff here to say. It's rare that I see any minus, so it's good. Anyone else feeling brave? When you go, yes, go ahead, let's do it.
Delhi Workstation.
Ooh. Workstation.com,
Yes, yes.
all right. All right. Ready, player 1? Hey, ooh, where's it gonna be? It's like a roulette wheel. Oh, please land on black. Not too shabby, but let's still, we're gonna let the souffle settle for a minute. Okay. Great, I love that you state right what you're doing right from the beginning, very good. There's no mystery, it's a unique picture, and no mystery while you're here. That usually makes usually makes everybody happy, from Google to Facebook, they all like seeing that you're the real thing. You told people right away. You put your fees up front, which is great. All right, a lot of good stuff here. All right, so let's go to the audit. E minus, not too bad. All right, links are bad, social's bad. That's your only problem.
Okay.
We already, the on-page SEO is really like common sense, all right? If I was a Vermont farmer, I'd say, yeah, but did she tell them what she's doing, you know? And she did, so you're good. You just have to be very straightforward, right when people land, no mystery. Why, what do we do? Why are we here? What's our mission? Don't make yourself mysterious. We're not gonna be all Melania about this. Usability, there's some things you can do to enhance this, and it will be really, usability is not about keywords, it's just about functionality in compliance with Google's dictate. The site may move quickly, people know where to go, but this is just making Google happy with usability. Performance is okay, most of our websites are really only B. I mean, very super hyperspeed web performance is not necessary for 90% of the people, and it's a premium service for me, so I don't make this lightning fast. But if someone wants, obviously I have a plus on my own site, but it costs more money, and so I just pass through if they really want that. There's nothing wrong with a B- in this, I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay.
Because people aren't loading massive amounts of images, so it's not like a real estate website, yeah, you're gonna have to pay for high-speed performance, because people wanna see their houses now. Now I need to see my McMansion now, but for you, they just need info. So your work is gonna be with links, you gotta
Yeah.
show up at other places, and then you've gotta expand your social. The idea is simply more people, you need to get in front of more people. All right?
So, does that mean that more people should talk about us, or like, is it about tagging, or how does that work with my website?
Sure, I'd say yes to all of it.
Yeah,
It's no one thing, it's a little bit of everything. You wanna draw people on Facebook and engage them. And so you wanna offer things for people to comment on so you can love them back. All right, sure, let's do that. That's like, it's sometimes it's what we call 1% of everything.
yeah,
There's no one thing. It's a little of this, a little of that, a little of
Yeah.
that. Would I recommend a direct mailing? Yes, but I can't mail to other businesses because they're not gonna want to lure. So I would probably saturate PO boxes with the mailing. You can do it yourself. And then you also wanna say, it's gotta be because you have a proximity thing here too.
yeah,
So you're really gonna have to own your backyard. You're not trying to draw people in from Margaretville maybe, or, yeah, you gotta be, they're gonna be here.
yeah,
So, co-sponsoring something, like one of the things I work on with nonprofits is, or other chambers. We have a lot of chambers that do co-events now. And it helps log rolling back and forth, as long as they don't feel competitive towards each other.
yeah,
When I work with rescue squads, they're very competitive, or fire departments, because they don't want fundraising on their turf to happen on other turf, so.
yeah,
It doesn't do a lot of good to have a pancake breakfast at someone else's firehouse either, so you gotta have it. But you might get creative, and what you wanna do is like, let's say you do wine tasting, I know, just do an art exhibit or wine tasting, just for an evening, try and partner with, someone else. Have them show up for a couple hours and try and get people to, you wanna try and build a fan club, so they're out there advertising for you. Hey,
yeah,
I was here, so essentially their eyeballs become your eyeballs. It's just, you gotta manufacture, what we do is we call it manufacturing awareness. We can do it through direct mail, but you've got a limited area to work with.
Would something like a business after hours program?
Oh,
through the
absolutely.
Chamber would
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, my thought would be you want some of those people that have moved here and were
Yeah.
running a small business out of their home through
Yeah.
I don't even like to talk about the pandemic, but that brought a lot of people to our area.
for sure.
And those people may be, okay, we've been here now, I need to get into an office again because my family's with me, I can't work from home productively, it needs to be more,
Yeah,
that might be something. Somebody's just been in their home as a small bit, has a small room that, okay, I gotta grow this and I wanna be around other people and,
yeah.
Yeah, we,
how to target them and find them is another, there's the
that's the water hole.
find them here,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right? Is a source,
yeah,
because,
Ray's trying to find them.
yeah, that's a source.
there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
But you probably wanna be economical about it. It's,
Come to our open house.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't even deter you from putting like rack cards at all the local gas stations and. I mean, there's, delis, I mean, it's really no one thing to do, it's.
Yeah.
We have the kiosk
Yeah,
that you can put them
yeah,
stuff in. We have our open house.
I don't think we need to go through the social here, the links, I think you already know that, so you just wanna try and start populating, so.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know, I mean, almost 2 hours. Thank you
Thank you.
for coming. Are there any questions? I mean, this is helpful, thank you, this is really actually very helpful too. And this is B- is good, by the way, I don't, that's nothing to see to.
Yeah.
I can show you some other stuff here from Ray and Friends on the website, and I just went through the S's. And some of it's brilliant, some of it ain't so brilliant, but. We don't need to delve through, but is this helpful? Is there
Oh,
anything?
yeah. It's on the bear.
Great.
This is very, very helpful, by the way.
Okay. So, I can answer any more questions. We did bring this to noon, but, you know, I don't have to be anywhere. If you'd like to ask some more questions. Really, it helps me, and thank you for sharing, because it's those kind of things that even I learned from. Again, I didn't read anything doing this. I started just looking what's working. All I did is just asking, what's actually happening? What's actually working? Where did we see traction? Where did we see things weren't working? And I think that's more helpful than reading any massive book I buy at Barnes and Noble. But again, if I was a takeaway here, is that you don't need to be everywhere, you just need to be where the people you want to talk to are, that's it.
So what are those metrics that we should be, we should be looking at to see that we're gaining?
You can, if you can get Google Analytics for
Yeah.
free. So I would say start with Google Analytics. Just take the time, make a pot of coffee and research it yourself, use that for free. When we use it, whenever we build a site, we absolutely incorporate Google Analytics as part of it.
Right.
But you can do it yourself too. That's gonna tell you a lot. I mean, you can drill down into something. If you work with us, you could, you know, we give you a report, but it's usually something people don't already know. You know, there are very few surprises in this. Some things I don't know, like here's why people are searching for the Delhi work. And it's not a shock. They actually, your number one thing is you want people looking for childcare, actually.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah, not a surprise, because you say it too.
yeah,
They may have come there accidentally for that, but the good news is, it's there, but you don't have a meta tag for it, so you don't really talk about it in the way that Google wants.
okay.
It's not wrong, it's just that you're almost,
Yeah.
you're halfway there. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
halfway around the mountain, you know. You gotta put your tag descriptions on the pages, so you would want a dedicated page to talk about that. And
Right,
that's a best practice, really. You organize your site with sub
dedicated
pages, huh?
so I have it stacked
Mhm.
and you want dedicated pages.
Yes, please. Yes, ma'am. Have dedicated page, put meta tags on it, let people know you're here, you will get more traffic.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's learning how to expand on something that's already working and then making it a thing,
yeah.
you know?
Great.
You know, I can go through, a lot of stuff here, but,
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, yeah.
all right, how about the rest of you? All good out there?
Yeah, we're finding this really helpful.